say whatever he wants, claim credit for whatever he wants, but we're doing our own thing. We're setting our own agenda. Prime Minister Carney knows exactly where he wants this government to go.
Leave it to the Liberals to embarrass themselves. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. Today we've got the Liberal caucus chair at the Edmonton retreat where they're wasting a bunch of our tax dollars doing an interview. He panics during it. He embarrasses Mark Carney. We also got a panel on CTV blasting Mark Carney's communication strategy. It's one embarrassment after the other for the Liberals. Let's jump into this. We got Justin Trudeau back in the news. He's going on speaking tours. I guess he's charging $100,000 or more for his speeches, and he's apparently done one in Korea. Now, who would hire this guy to come speak for $100,000? What would he speak about? I don't know. How to rip off taxpayers, money laundering. I don't know what he gives speeches on. He does have some skill sets. I mean, how to destroy an entire economy, how to lie to 40 million people. He does have some skill sets. Clearly, those are valuable to someone. This guy will go down as the worst prime minister in Canadian history. Moving ahead, we've got quite the scenes here. Coming out of Nepal, the youth of that country have revolted against the government. They burned down the parliament building because they blocked all social media in Nepal. Wow. So there's a lot of rough and tough stuff here that I can't play on the channel. And here's the shot of the parliament burning it. It didn't burn all the way down, but it was lit on fire, which you can see is not a little fire either. This is what revolting against the government looks like. This is the craziest part of this whole overthrow in Nepal is they've taken the finance minister, it says, was taken down here and chased in a river. Some wild punishment. And we're also seeing it in France. The government collapsed again the other day, Emmanuel Macron's, and the people are out in the streets again. Calls for revolution intensify. This woke leftist nonsense is coming to an end in all Western countries, all at the same time here. Meanwhile, we've got this big story here. I can't really talk about this much aside from Israel dropped some pow-pows and some boom-booms on where they believe chips and hummus leaders were hanging out in Qatar, in Doha. And now Qatar obviously not happy about this because they had some pow-pows dropped in their country. And now chips and hummus are coming out and saying that they didn't get their leaders and this, that, and the other. Who knows? So moving ahead, we've got this one on CTV and then I got another clip on CBC I'll splice in here of the Liberal caucus chair leader getting asked about temporary foreign workers and essentially kind of panics. He doesn't know what to say. He doesn't want to answer the question. You'll see he doesn't answer the question despite this reporter trying 3 or 4 times.
And who better to chat with us about that than caucus chair MP James Maloney. Thank you for being with us. I want to start by asking you about everything you've heard over the summer. How big of an agenda item is the economy when all of the MPs come back to share what they've heard?
Look, the answer is it's big, but the economy is always a big agenda. There's a lot going on, as all Canadians know. We're dealing with President Trump and the tariff issue, and it's an ongoing changing landscape day to day, week to week. So it's a big concern for everybody. But the biggest takeaway I would say I had from the summer is when I talked to my neighbors and constituents, literally every day throughout the summer, and they're confident in what the government's doing. And like I said to somebody earlier today, my true barometer is when I take my dog for a walk, which I do a couple of times a day. And every time 3 or 4 different people stop me and say, "Hey, you guys are doing a great job. Keep up, keep it up. We're looking forward to it."
I call bull crap on that because I didn't even know who this guy was. If I'm making these videos twice a day, every day for over the past year, and this guy isn't a familiar face to me because he's rarely on camera, the average person isn't going to walk down the street and like, oh, it's James Mahoney, the Liberal Party caucus chair. You guys are doing a great job. Yeah, right. I call bull crap on his story. Nobody's told him that ever. Not once.
Person not confident in the government, Pierre Poilievre. We've heard a lot of criticism lately, especially around youth unemployment with those high numbers. The opposition saying that you're not helping, I guess to put it politely, youth struggling to find work. Is that an issue at the caucus table? And what do you...
I'm smiling because am I supposed to be surprised that Pierre Poilievre is criticizing the government and doesn't support something that's going on? Look, if I'm going to be...
What a pompous response. Listen to this. He gets asked this over and over and over and he doesn't want to answer it.
Blunt with you, I don't pay a lot of attention to what he says.
But what he's talking about is important.
Look, he's sure. I mean, he's talking about important issues, but I'm not going to hold my breath until he comes forward with some meaningful solution that's constructive.
But on youth unemployment, is that something that's being...
Yes, it's an issue.
Yeah, of course, it's an important issue. I won't answer it because we're the ones causing the problem, and we could quite possibly have friends and family making a lot of money off this. So we don't want to have this gravy train go away, but I just won't answer the question.
But I mean, if you talk about, other issues he's raised recently, he's, in my opinion, he's very good at surface level politics. He doesn't delve into the meat, and he doesn't offer any solutions. Look,
he doesn't offer any solutions except on his press conference the other day. He literally had 4 solutions, new solutions to add to his other solutions for the housing crisis. This guy's full of crap. He knows it too. He's panicking here. He doesn't know what to say. He doesn't like this question because he doesn't have a good answer for it.
These are all challenges. We all know. We all face them. And they're not unique to Canada either, I might add. But
we don't all face them. A student looking for a job at Wendy's or McDonald's or Walmart is not the same as you as Liberal caucus chair making multi-$100,000 a year salary.
Government and Prime Minister, led by Prime Minister Carney, he's laid out the agenda quite clearly. And let's keep in mind too, he's only been the Prime Minister since May, and we're moving very, very quickly.
You're not moving quickly. What this guy's looking for is an exit. You can see him constantly looking over to his left here, over and over. How do I get out of this conversation? I don't like this question she just asked me on temporary foreign workers.
So I'm confident things will improve.
A big question is how much are we talking about in terms of cuts when we look at all of the big investments that the Prime Minister has promised, and then also talking about an austerity budget. When I talked to you earlier today, you talked about speculation. Yeah. So what are you telling MPs to get everybody on the same page when they're worried about conveying messages of cuts to their constituents?
Well, I mean, austerity is used as it's a demonizing, scary word, and people use it in the political context to frighten people, frankly, but
didn't the Prime Minister say that?
He used
it, but didn't the Prime Minister use that word? I was going to say, where are you going with this, man? Carney used that word.
Yeah, but look, I mean, what we're talking about is a responsible, economically efficient approach to government. And you've got Prime Minister Carney, who's a former governor of the Bank of Canada, the former governor of the Bank of England.
This is a tactic here when you don't have anything really good to say, just start listing off a bunch of stuff to fill the space. Chrystia Freeland really good at this. Justin Trudeau is also good at it. And clearly this guy, they all talk to the same communications expert. He's trying to fatten out Mark Carney's resume here, pad it. He doesn't have to say as much to try to answer this question.
In my opinion, who better to lead the charge when you're trying to deal with those types of challenges? Look, I don't know what's going to be in the budget. I haven't we'll have to wait and see what's in it, but I'm confident that the word austerity will be a positive thing once people see what's in the budget.
You notice when he said austerity there, he looked over to the left. He's looking for that exit again. He doesn't know how to answer this question. Let's jump over to the CBC here, where this guy briefly melts down again about Pierre Poilievre.
Well, it's been a bit of an ongoing theme with Pierre Poilievre, right? He has repeatedly said the Liberals are kind of stealing his ideas. He's talked about how they canceled the carbon tax after he spent a couple of years campaigning on the cancellation of the carbon tax. He's pointed to the cancellation of the digital services tax recently. Now, of course, if you ask the Liberals here, he's got nothing to do with their policy decisions. If you listen to James Maloney, the caucus chair, we asked him that question this morning, and he really refuted that idea.
He say whatever he wants and claim credit for whatever he wants, but we're doing our own thing. We're setting our own agenda. Prime Minister Carney knows exactly where he wants this government to go, and we're 100% with him. So the changes you're talking about aren't changes. It's an evolution. As a government, you have to adapt, and you have to respond to the circumstances at the time, and that's what we've done. So he can say what he wants, but it's really meaningless.
These guys are all terrified of Pierre Poilievre. Let's call it as it is. That's why the media keeps attacking him. He's the Prime Minister we all need, and they don't like that. This guy comes off as a slippery, slimy snake. Should have asked Maloney if Poilievre has no solutions, why did Carney steal his policies to get elected? Another meeting, yet they had all summer to get things done. This is another retreat in Edmonton. They're wasting hundreds of thousands of dollars, booking another thing, having catered meals, to do nothing. That's all they do is waste our money. Why even interview Liberals? They never give a straight answer. Yeah, that guy didn't want to answer that question. And good on that CBC reporter asking him like 4 times. All he wanted to do was bash Pierre Poilievre and not answer the question. Canadian youth can't get jobs. So I really hope that Canada's youth steps up in the next election and all votes for the Conservatives. It's unlikely this situation is going to improve the entry-level jobs. So if they want that to change, they have to vote Conservative. Moving ahead, we got a couple panels here on CTV. This one here talking about PM Carney's fiscal approach, Liberals' plan to balance the cuts. We're going to listen to what she has to say. I believe she was a campaign manager for Doug Ford. She absolutely rips the Liberals here, a new one.
I'm also watching closely because I've pitched my husband that my spending on purses will now be an investment because they accrue extra value over time.
That's true,
Fingers crossed, it worked.
So she's making fun of Mark Carney, talking about investments, trying to hide his deficits, all that.
As well. It is. Thank you, Larissa. I appreciate the support. What are your thoughts on this? Not the purses, the actual political dynamic.
No, there are many purses. Everybody can Google that increase in value, and that is crazy. So I want to actually speak to something Kathleen said about, comparing the cuts that Carney's proposing versus the Harper era cuts. The difference is there's so much more to cut. The broader public service increased 40% since 2015. At the CRA, we have 60,000 employees versus the IRS that has 80,000 employees, and they have 9 times our population. I don't think we have 9 times the service level. I don't think we have 40% better service from our public service than we did in 2015. So there appears to be a lot of fat to trim. What I want to also bring up is to Dan's point that this prime minister is going to be so much different in how he approaches finances. We had to peer pressure him into doing a fall budget. He wasn't going to do one. And somebody...
Just think about that. Peer pressured the banker, the former governor of the Bank of England, governor, Bank of Canada, all that. This guy had to be pressured into doing a budget. What is not adding up here? We're starting to see it being unrolled. The net zero agenda, they could only wait so long.
Who doesn't understand the importance of transparency and telling the electorate what you're going to do, how much you're going to spend, where you're going to make the investments? I have very little confidence that he's going to actually read the room here. He wants to talk about big projects and big programs and, the national interest stuff. And it's all been great on paper. We haven't seen anything happen in real life. And I think if you look at the youth, for example, that Pierre Poilievre is speaking to, they don't want another program. They just want the opportunity to get a job and buy a house and live their Canadian dream. I think that Mark Carney doesn't understand that. And so I'm really interested to see what's in this budget, and I'm really interested to see how he's going to communicate it to people who are feeling real hurt right now and who feel left behind by sort of the thinking process of this Liberal government.
This is well said. I mean, Mark Carney doesn't know what strawberries cost. He doesn't know the cost of anything. Mr. Rich Banker, he was getting paid. He got something ridiculous like $16,000 a month just for his living expenses when he was the governor of Bank of England, something like that. He's completely detached from reality and the average person. Someone else who's completely detached is Doug Ford here. Listen to him talk about Canadians getting jobs. It's almost like he had a little chat with his buddy Mark Carney, and he's walking back his position here on temporary foreign workers, the mobility program, all of that.
We need to match the people up with the jobs. It may not always be in the area that they want or the sector they want, but we have to start picking up productivity. And it drives me nuts when I see young, healthy people, and they'll call me up saying, I can't find a job. I can assure you, if you look hard enough, it may not be, maybe be in fast food or something else, but you'll find a job.
Doug Ford is so detached from reality. I have so many messages of people who say their kid who's 18 years old, 19, has been looking for a job for 6 months, for 8 months, for a year and a half, have not been able to get jobs. Doug Ford with his cushy salary here, I can't remember, he just got a pay increase. He's making hundreds of thousands of dollars. Doesn't know what it's like to go get a job at the bottom level. Did Mark Carney call him up and said, hey, Dougie, I need some help here. How about you push back on the mobility program, TFW? Ford's blunt and out of touch, sure, but Crombie's pitch is basically don't settle for a job, wait for a dream career that I swear is coming. I mean, they're both buffoons. This is posted on Bonnie Crombie, Liberal Bonnie Crombie's account. They're both buffoons. Ontario needs real conservative leadership because this isn't it. And jumping back over to this panel on CTV, they're talking about Pierre Poilievre's communication strategy. This is a very bizarre clip here. First, we're going to go back to her again because she's dropping truth bombs. But then we have Kathleen Monk, the one time I've ever heard her praising Pierre Poilievre. I don't know if a bunch of complaints went went to CTV and they told Kathleen, hey, you got to stop attacking the guy that your firm was spending millions of dollars running attack ads on. I don't know what it is.
I think there's like, I was saying to you earlier on radio, the same thing. Like, I see a very clear delineation between like pre-by-election and post. And certainly for the last 6 months, the Conservatives have been unable to drive the news cycle the way they used to, let's say, a year ago. The last week has seen a real effort to be able to do that. What do you think is the impetus behind that?
Honestly, there's no secret sauce here. It is putting out policy and having a press conference and having the federal Liberals respond. And this is happening at the same time that the Liberals, their communication frankly sucks. Like their theory of communication, they're putting out too much stuff in one announcement. And so the Conservatives are doing a good job of driving the narrative, talking about things that are frankly very, very timely and things that people are worried about, right? Youth unemployment is up. Kids are going back to school. They didn't work during the summer, and so they don't know how they're going to pay for school this year. And then you have the Liberals are dumping all of their big announcements, and frankly, like there's some good stuff in there. They're dumping it all on one day on a Friday afternoon. It's not hard to beat them at this communications game right now.
That is a spot on take. And I'd like to highlight, as you've seen, I've gone back to Mark Carney's Friday press conference and pulled out thing after thing. I just did the biofuel video. If you haven't seen that one, Mark Carney personally did a biofuel deal with Brookfield Asset Management. And that was just another tidbit in that announcement. He had a whole bunch of stuff in there, just piled in there. It was too much stuff. I've had to spend a couple days to break apart all of the stuff in there. So as she said, they just did it on a Friday evening, dumped it out there. It's awful communications. Now listen to Kathleen Monk, NDP, praising Pierre. I've never heard her praise Pierre in the year and a half, near 2 years I've been doing this. Not once.
Kathleen, what are your thoughts? You talk about comms all the time. It has been interesting the last week to see like some frequency and some like drive for relevance that wasn't there prior to the by-election.
Yeah, I think that Mr. Poilievre is doing a lot of the right moves. He did what he needed to do. After the loss, he went to ground. He worked really hard, actually, in the summer to earn that by-election, right? He was pretty quiet. Canadians were kind of, tired of seeing him after the election of the last 2 years of his, incredible growth that he did have. And he did the work over the summer, and now he's surfacing. And he's benefiting from a few things. He's benefiting from, not only is he on topic, on point, immigration, crime, housing, the budget, right, and jobs, but he's also like benefiting from a few his viral content that he puts out there. He's a veritable clip machine. I mean, I look as a former communications staffer at some of the clips that he's rolled out over the last week, the skinny man, fat man clip and a few others.
That is a good clip. If you haven't seen that one, Pierre Poilievre talking about the Canadian population is a skinny man, the fat man on the back of the skinny man, carrying the fat man up a steeper and steeper hill, the fat man being the bloated government. It puts a very stark visual in your mind and you remember it. Same thing with the Summer of George, the Summer of Seinfeld, all of those. They're great communication strategies.
Really just are sticky and they stick to media and people listen and their ears perk up, frankly. And also he's benefiting from, a growing almost ecosystem of right-leaning online media that is helping him, including his own YouTube channel and platform where he has incredible numbers in terms of audiences. So he is once again...
That's interesting. I think she's alluding to, well, all of us on here. They like to pretend we don't exist, but the numbers don't lie. The creators on YouTube here are pulling bigger numbers than basically all these media companies, at least on political videos. CTV and CBC actually do a lot of views per month, but they also upload like 70 or 80 videos a day. So
improving the strength that he has, the latent muscle that he hasn't used for the last few months, frankly, and he's flexing it and his ability to actually shape the political discourse and narrative of this town. And he is making Carney respond, which must be infuriating for the Prime Minister, who actually, objectively, when you look at it, basically rescued this party over the last, 6 to 9 months, brought it from the flames that it was, and actually formed a government, a minority at that. But he isn't able to dominate with a message track the way that Pierre Poilievre has been so successful at.
And I think prior to the summer, it was...
I just can't believe what I'm hearing here. Kathleen Monk had a good take. I don't know what got into her. Every single time she talks on this show, it doesn't matter what the topic is. She'll just attack Poilievre for no good reason. I don't know what's going on there, but...
Interesting. They were, right? They made a number of announcements. They were the ones responding to the big moves from Donald Trump. But then things quieted over the summer. There was a lot of instability in the relationship with the U.S. that left like an opening, it feels like, now at the end of the summer and the early start to the fall.
Yeah, and Mark Carney is has fallen flat. His communication strategy is terrible. Pierre Poilievre's communication strategy, his team has absolutely been knocking out of the park. Meanwhile, back in Bowmanville, we've got more newcomers stealing salmon from the salmon run. This needs to be grounds for deportation. There needs to be a very clear rule book. When newcomers come in, if you break the rules, you go home. You can't become a citizen. That's what we need in our country. No more of this crap. Salmon are going to lay eggs. This will devastate the salmon run if these people come and steal all the fish. There's a reason why it's illegal.